My name is Seth, and I will be presenting the topic of how doing the right thing could sometimes lead to the wrong thing. My first argument in this topic is how you can sometimes give too much help. For that, bailing someone out of their problems all the time. For example, drugs. If you know someone that is a drug addict and you care for them, so your first decision to pop in mind is to bail them out all the time, to get them out of jail, to make them feel comfortable. Well, sometimes that is not always helping them. Sometimes that is actually doing the opposite of that. It is making them worse because instead of getting better, instead of going to jail and being punished, you are always letting them go, and they won't get the help that they need. Other examples are thieves and petty crime. Next is giving a student too much help so they don't learn. That student in the later on, if you give them too much help, they won't be ready for the test. And I'll tell you why. They won't study. Say they have a question, you give them the answer to that question straight on. Later on in the test, they will forget and they won't be ready. And they also won't be ready for the real world. Babying your kid too much so they don't grow up. We all see this. 30-year-olds living in their mom's basements. This is another way of giving too much help because parents don't want to discipline their children, don't want to push them to go for their desires. They don't want them to go anywhere, so they baby them. And it can be as simple as overwatering your plants. You give too much water to your plant, it will die, it will drown. Next, I'll talk about giving the wrong kind of help. That's my second argument. So, for example, loan sharks. So your friend is tied up on cash. He asks you for advice, and instead of telling him, well, you should be better, you should be more intelligent on the way you save up your money, you tell him to go see a loan shark. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Loan sharks can be good, but not all the time. You don't pay up, you're in trouble. But if you learn how to save your money properly and control your spending, then that is a safer way of working out your problems when you're tight on cash. Again, say you know someone who's had an encounter with a robber, and they ask you for advice on what to do. You instead of saying maybe get pepper spray, you jump the gun and literally tell them to go get a gun. Now, this might seem as good advice since you will always be protected, but what happens if that person doesn't know how to use a gun or doesn't know the repercussions that it could have? For example, what if someone is mugging you just because, they're like a 15-year-old kid in the ghetto and they need money? And you decide to pull out a gun and you shoot them. I don't know about you, that's pretty heartbreaking, and that could have all been ruled out with just a little spray with pepper spray, and no one would have gotten hurt. And other ways that doing the good thing can somehow turn into the wrong thing. Let's talk about carbon tax. Our Prime Minister has just implemented this new tax, and I know what you're going to say. Well, the carbon tax is good. Well, I can agree it to a certain extent. See, lower income families who live far from the city, who are commuters, drive every day from and to their work. Now, gas, obviously, they're going to be using a lot of it, and gas prices have shot up recently because of this tax. How are they going to afford? I know what you're going to say. Well, they could just get a bus. Well, what if they live in the country? There's no buses that go there, and the nearest bus station is about 20 miles. What are they going to do? Walk every morning? Didn't think so. Another topic, gun control laws. This is a very controversial topic, so I'll just say that, well, a family, if you take away the guns, they can be left unprotected. Now, you were trying to do the good thing by taking away the guns so that the robbers don't have guns, but what if the robbers don't need guns? Robbers just need knives and a menacing face, but you've left this family unprotected. And it could be in the other way. If you give guns, robbers will now have guns, and it will be easier for them to rob families. So either way, I guess you're stuck in a pickle, but both of them don't work. So next, hunting laws. Some families don't rely on grocery stores to get their food. They rather collect from nature. But we have hunting laws here in Canada where you can only hunt certain animals in certain times of year. I know what you're gonna say. Well, they can just hunt different animals different times of years. But what if they follow a certain religion? What if they are, let's say, Muslim and they can't eat pork? Well, there is a certain area of animals that some area of people can't eat, and that will not help them in the long run since they only have a short time period to get all the meat they can, and if they can't, then they are screwed. Last but not least, taxes. Taxes in general. Taxes help us. They help everybody. Police, firefighters, roads, hospitals. But we have a lot of them. We even have a tax on the amount of money that we make, income tax. It's just too much. Anyways, that's how I feel on this topic.